Blackburn George. Morning, my friend. How are you?
Good morning. Very well.
Welcome. I'm doing fine as fine as can be. Gooners football fans, welcome to another edition of the Positively Uncensored Arsenal podcast, video log, whatever you want to call it. Today it is George and myself. Apologies for Ehab, who is not well. Post Wolves after a long break. Arsenal back on the winning track, George. 1-0 to the mighty Arsenal down at Molineux. The thought that goes through my mind are the actual performance shows that they outpassed us, they outshot us, but we did the most important thing, and that was to score. And I think those 3 points and the manner in which we hung on for victory makes us as Gooners feel good, feel very happy this morning. What about you, George?
Yeah, it's a good summary. I think on balance, even up to the ridiculous sending off,
Yes.
I think they were marginally the better side. But it was marginal in a close game where there isn't much difference, where one goal is huge. And it was a scruffy, horrible goal for them to concede. And a great bit of opportunism for us, kicking it in, Lacazette kicking it at the goalie and bouncing and landing it. It was hardly a well-constructed goal, but goals are goals and 3 points are 3 points and all the cliches can be run out. A good team can win when they're not playing well, blah, blah, blah. And I think we ticked a lot of the cliche boxes last night. And of course, as fans, people want to ignore that, but the reality is they're a good team. They didn't play particularly well last night, but they're a good team. I think they missed, what's his name, their playmaker, the guy who always played, Moutinho, is it?
Moutinho, yes, Moutinho. Yeah. That's the guy. He plays for Portugal. Is he still playing for them, by the way? Because he's a veteran.
Yeah, he is, but he's like the heartbeat of their team, and they missed him a lot. But still, we won, and I didn't think we would, but we did, and I think it sets us up very favourably for basically the return leg next week. At home. We play them at home. It's got to make us fairly heavy favourites for that game as well. So all in all, it was a great 3 points, and given the circumstances for the last 20 minutes, it was a great result.
Yes, I don't think we can question that, because we definitely needed those 3 points, and we are
it's huge.
Yes, and we're fifth in the table, just above Manchester United, and
which begs the question. It goes back to what I was saying before Christmas. I mean, nobody in the wildest dreams can say we played well last night, or that we've played well this season.
Mm-hmm.
But we're fifth. Games in hand over
Spurs.
West Ham are in fourth.
Yes, West Ham. Yes,
West Ham are in fourth. Games
in hand on Spurs, who are challenging us.
Games in hand don't mean 3 points per game, but they do mean you can realistically say, what's our average points per game? About 1.6 points per game, is it? 1.7?
You're killing me, George. You got to make a calculator, right?
well, let's say it's something thereabout.
I have one here.
And so 2 games, 1 point. Let's say it's 1.5 at worst. That's 3 points we could reasonably expect to get from any games in hand.
Yes.
I mean, we could get 6, we could get none, but mathematically, we're liable to get our average for games, and over 2 games, that's about 3 to 4 points, which will put us in an excellent position to challenge for fourth place. And we can, like I've been saying for months, despite how we've played, it doesn't matter that Spurs are bad, United are bad, Everton have been terrible, Leicester are awful. It doesn't matter. We have to take advantage of this opportunity. Playing as we have got us to fifth place with just 16 games to go and a chance of getting fourth. That would be huge for the club. And I think we're quite well suited, well fixed to do that because, you know, although we've got a small squad now, one game a week, you know.
Yeah. By the way, George, the listeners might have seen me, but we're averaging 1.77 points, 1.8 points every game.
Right.
Yeah, which sets us up very well because we have another 14 games to go. Go ahead, George.
Like I said, we can expect to get between 3 and 4 points from those two games in hand. Reasonably expect that. You know, not 6, not none. And if we get them, we're in the box seat, aren't we? That puts us above West Ham.
Yes, I don't. You always said this, and I concur with you. And we see that in their performances. They West Ham doesn't seem to have the depth. I'm not going to say they have the coach with experience, which is a difference.
They don't have the depth.
They don't seem to have the depth to last the distance. I'm also concerned about us, but I don't want to. I don't know if we have. I said I don't know if we have the minerals. I don't think we have the. I have a concern about experience to carry us through, George, and we saw it last year. We were all set up to come fourth, but we didn't have the minerals. We didn't have the experience, and as Arteta blamed it on the players he got rid of. But that's another matter. I really didn't want to pursue that today.
No,
but maybe you can speak about that because that is.
Well, I sort of disagree, really.
Yes,
with you for once. I think we do. I think it was Xhaka. He makes a huge difference if we can keep him on the pitch. Partey is clearly considerably better than he has been since he joined, and him and Partey are a decent, more than decent combination in midfield. The defence is sound. We saw that last night. He brought on Rob Holding, who was fantastic, by the way, when he came on.
Absolutely, yes. Made some
great stuff. You don't really have to worry about the forward line because, you know, all right, the kids and they've not got experience, but their attitude and their endeavour isn't really up for question for me. So then with Lacazette doing his cart horse, workhorse impersonation, even though he's not very deadly in front of goal anymore, it would appear, he still contributes hugely to the team. And I think we're well suited. I think we're well fixed to challenge for top four now, given the position we find ourselves in. I mean, I couldn't imagine playing. If you'd have told me at the beginning of the season how we were going to play, the standard of our play, I would say that's going to put you like bang mid-table, you know, 9th, 10th or 11th, the standard we've played at. But that's irrelevant. We've played that way and we find ourselves in 5th place with the opportunity to get top 4. Great opportunity. It reminds me, remember when everybody was going mad that bloody Leicester won it and we didn't. Leicester got the opportunity and took it. You know, everybody else was playing bad. The refs decided to help them. The Premier League decided to help them, but they took advantage of it. Now we have to do the same. It's not to win the league, but for us it'll be just as big to get back in that top 4 because we have to stop the rot. We have to stop people thinking of us as a mid-table team that's out the top 4 reckoning. You know, every year when we go into that season, we want to be considered as one of the challengers for top 4. And at the moment, we're not. And this is an opportunity to get back in and then say, well, yeah, we're back. We won't play like this again. We won't play as badly this year. We'll play better next year. And we're already able to get in the top four. I think it's a good opportunity for Arsenal.
It's difficult for me to argue with you on that, George. Although I will tell the audience that I'm sticking to my guns. We are a top 6 team, but I am open. I'm not going to be one of these people who are just like they have a position and they stick to it on Twitter and they find every minute piece of evidence and then just to support it. And it is terrible to listen to because all they're doing really basically is hanging on, guys on Twitter. You're hanging on to a point of view because you wanted to keep your fellow travelers with you, and that's not the way. That's not common sense, and sometimes it results in extremism, George, and we see it. It was the same extremism towards Wenger, and now it's the same extremism towards Arteta, who both of us don't like, but he's the guy in charge.
Yeah, I mean, you get these people on Twitter, and they go on the internet on imright.com.
Yes,
and try and find every reason why they're right and everybody else is wrong. And you can always find it on the internet. You can find stats that'll back you up. But the stats back what I've been saying. That's why I feel so confident that we've not played well, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because here we are, 5th with 2 games in hand over the 4th place team. Favourites now to go above them. As long as Manchester United and Spurs continue to be as poor as they are, which is probably about the same level we're at, our advantage could see us home. Because
George,
they've had stinkers this season. Stinkers. But it doesn't matter. So have we, basically.
Yeah.
But we're 5th. We've got the advantage of it.
You know what? There's a problem with Manchester United, and part of the problem is that they've got, it reminds me of something Arsene Wenger said to us as Arsenal fans and to the public and to everybody that were willing to listen. When you bring in more than 2 or 3 players in a team, it's very difficult to integrate them and to get any consistency. And look at the state of Manchester United. I mean, great players, and they just can't get it together. Spurs, inconsistency, lots of signings, new coaches. It's very difficult to get any consistency. Don't you think that's the point, George?
Yeah, that's fair enough. But then, if that's the case, you have to credit Arteta because he brought 5 or 6 in and he's integrated them. So you can't, on one hand, use it as an excuse for United and Spurs struggling without giving Arteta credit for being able to do it.
Well, that's true. That's true.
And if you look at them, there's only probably, is it Lukongo that isn't a regular starter now?
No, the boy Tavares is not a regular starter. And,
that's right. Yeah.
George, and it's really 3 guys who have really gone in. And Ehab's view is that he's hung on Tavares to dry, and it looks like nobody talks about it. It's like he doesn't exist. But George,
again, you've got to say that if you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound.
Yeah.
And Arteta's staking his reputation on this no tolerance attitude if people don't do what they're told on the pitch and off the pitch. Now, I don't agree with it, but it's his choice. And I'm quite content that he's sticking to his guns. Even if I don't agree with it, I'd rather see someone stick to their principles than waver from them in the face of some criticism from fucking idiots like me. So
and yours truly. But let's, George, talking about that, let's go back to the game itself, or to the entire game scenario. The thing that struck me was that it is clear and apparent that the strategy that Arteta has decided on, and he got a blessing of Stan apparently, a 16, 17-man squad for the rest of the season. And we could predict the lineup to a man, George.
Yeah.
And
we did.
And we did. The boy Tomiyasu is out, so you bring on Cedric. That's pretty much it. If
Who had a good game, by the way.
Yes, well,
he did. He wasn't outstanding.
No,
but
right.
When you see the meltdown, when you see his name on the team
right,
sheet,
relative, yeah.
almost as if people think that the guy has never played. He's a fucking international footballer. He won the fucking international tournament.
Euro, yes.
He's a good player. He's not a great player. He's not at his peak, but as a backup, he played all right. He did okay. That's all you can ask somebody who's second choice to do. Come in and be okay. If they were going to come in and be brilliant, they'd be first choice, wouldn't they?
Yes. Exactly.
Why are you expecting second choice players to come in and play better than, be judged by first choice standards? It's not. We haven't got that squad. And I thought he did all right.
Right.
I think it's very unfair that he's all of a sudden the whipping boy. And the other one now is Lacazette. Lacazette's getting all sorts of stick. If you don't take his overall contribution to the team into account, then what the fuck are you watching? It's a team game, and he contributes massively to the outcome of the games if they're positive.
Everybody speaks about in that second half, that chance he missed out. What you thought of it, George?
Well, I thought I was going fucking daft, mate, because they're showing a still photograph of him and saying, look at this is a disgrace. Every good Premier League striker should finish this. And I'm thinking, how? How is that an easy chance? How far do you expect him to bend the ball around the keeper? The keeper was in a brilliant position. He made himself big. Now, you could say, he should have took a touch. He could have gone through him. He could have gone round him. He could have put it between his legs. He could have done all those things. But the finish he went for was difficult. That was not an easy chance. It really wasn't. I think I saw a figure. It's 0.07 XG.
Really? Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Not 0.7, 0.07. So only 7% of the time will a Premier League striker score from that opportunity.
But you hear all this.
We've been told that it was a tap in. It wasn't a fucking tap in. And then he gets criticised. There was also a time where Saka had jinked about and he played a 1-2 with, I think it was Odegaard. Pulled it back to Lacazette, who was on the edge of the box, and he struck it first time. He struck it well, but it went straight at the keeper. What sort of player with the ball coming at him at that pace has time to pick out a corner? I'll tell you what, normally when that ball's struck and it goes in, it's because they haven't struck it right. They've misstruck it and it's gone in one of the fucking corners.
They shank it, George. Yeah. And it comes off the shin and goes at an angle.
He struck it pure and firm. Unfortunately, the goalkeeper was right there.
That's right.
So,
George,
I think he's getting an unfair stick. I'm not saying he's a brilliant player.
No.
I'm not saying we shouldn't be looking to replace him. I'm saying all of a sudden he's become a scapegoat when actually he's one of our key players.
And George, that again is a point that I made before, and I'm sharing this with the audience. People have wrapped themselves around the position that Lacazette is chopped liver, and we should have signed a £70 million striker, and nothing.
He didn't want to come to us, by the way. We should have signed a player who wouldn't come to us, wouldn't even lift the phone up. How do you do that? First of all, you have to find 70 million, and then you have to go and throw him in the boot of Arteta's car and drive him through the Channel Tunnel,
Right.
forced to sign. It's not, it wasn't on. It wasn't on. We couldn't get him. If we did bid 70 million for him, it was probably a PR stunt to say, oh, look how hard we're trying. But they knew we weren't going to get him. And I don't see why people should expect Arsenal to be able to get a player like him. It's beyond us now.
And I say to fans here listening to us, the few score fans that listen to us, people don't wrap yourself into the position and you never see the value of a player. I mean, this is how Arteta wants him to play, coming deep, supporting Martinelli and Saka, and he does an absolutely good job at doing this. And he got 2 chances. One was on target and one was wide. And as George said, a 0.07 chance of scoring. Don't go crazy because, what people...
You see, the problem is, Shotta, people won't accept the facts. That was not an easy chance. But 9 out of 10 fans will be telling you he missed the sitter. How do you argue against that? It wasn't a sitter. 9 out of 10 fans will tell you it was. So you're fucked.
Well, what about the fact that he was involved? What about the fact that he was involved in the first goal?
Absolutely
fighting for the ball, got a little foot to it. That's what he does. Give him credit for that.
We know he made the goal basically. That bravery going in for the ball,
yes,
was what created the goal. It wasn't a skill; it was commitment.
Right.
And that's what we want, isn't it, from our players, commitment. And you can't say he's not a committed player. All right, he's not bloody Henry, he's not Dennis Bergkamp, he's not probably not even Nicholas Bentner, but he's still doing okay.
Yes. Yes, he's okay. I mean, anyway, if we could have people commit themselves their career, a Twitter career of slagging Giroud. Well, what the hell do you expect? And he never. I mean, Lacazette could, got called to the French squad, but I don't recall him playing. You see what I'm saying, George? Anyway. George. So we had the other talking point is the red card of Martinelli. George? I've never seen it before.
Oh, I have. I've seen it.
I mean, 2 yellow cards in one.
Not
okay,
often.
No, not often. What you thought about that?
Well, I thought it was ridiculous. I can understand people saying by the letter of the law, it could have been 2 yellows. Yeah. But surely the referee has to think, oh, hang on a minute. Would he have made that second challenge if I'd have cautioned him further up the field?
Yes.
He didn't know he'd been cautioned. He played advantage. He was indicated he played advantage. Martinelli was chasing the guy down. So you're telling me that Martinelli should have looked over to see him running down the middle of the pitch because he wasn't near Martinelli. Yes. With his hand playing advantage.
Yes.
And he thought to himself, oh, hang on, he might caution me for that. I better not do this. Yeah. It's unreasonable. And for the referee to think that those were 2 nailed on yellows is ridiculous. They probably both could be justified as a yellow, but they weren't certain yellows. And surely the threshold for sending somebody off has to be that it's a certain. It's just a bizarre decision. And Mikel Arteta. Now, you know my position on Mikel Arteta. I do not like him. I don't like him at all.
Yeah, well, everybody who listens to this, but you have always had a but. Yes.
But he was absolutely bang on in saying that the referee had to want to do it. He had to be complicit to apply those rules. He must have wanted to do it. He's right. He did want to do it for some fucking reason. And while we're on Arteta, it's easy to criticise him, and we have, and I do. But last night, after that ridiculous decision, he brought on Rob Holding, who was magnificent. And when he brought him on, I thought to myself, this is a dangerous game. We're going to sit back now and not try and play.
Mhm.
And I was wrong and he was right. It was exactly the right thing to do. Rob Holding made a huge difference to us. I think he made something like 12 clearances in 20 minutes.
Well, you have some numbers. I didn't see that. I didn't know
It
that
was
far.
outrageous. And gotta give Arteta credit for that. I don't think he would have done that 12 months ago. I don't think that's a substitution he would have made. I think he's improved on that. He's improved.
By the way, George, by the way, when you say that, that's a point Ehab has made ever since he joined this podcast, that we are paying for Arteta to learn, but he's learning. And I think I should make that point right here, that, yeah, you might disagree. We might disagree with it, but he's improving because, every game as a manager, he's learning something. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, and he's making, I said this a few weeks ago, he's making more and more right decisions, and you can't, but I see it all the time, people digging their heels in, Arteta out. I mean, really? Fucking Arteta out when we're this far in, we're this committed, and there is progress to be seen, because I'll tell you now, that defensive display last night was epic.
Well, yeah,
it was because
it was like defending the Alamo, George, because it was a rain of attack.
But it's not something. It's not something we could have done in the past. When we went on the Arsenal, when we went down to 10, we didn't defend like that. We still attacked. That was how he got through games, by ignoring the fact that we were down to 10, still wanting the ball and still going forward, still giving them problems, right? And it worked for Arsenal because he had better players
right
at that time. Vieira, Bergkamp and all the rest of it. He had them. Arteta hasn't got them. So it would have been foolish for him to say, carry on, let's carry on as normal, as Arsenal did. Arsenal used to say, well, we're down to fucking 10. What difference does it make? We'll still get the ball and we'll still attack. And his record with 10 men was unbelievable.
Oh, yes.
But so was the team he had at that time. Unbelievable. It wasn't as good later on when he didn't have those good players when we went down to 10. When we went down to 10 for the last 10 or 15 years of his managerial career.
Well, George, you would have.
We ended up losing 8-2 and 6-0.
Right, because you would be you'd have one defensive midfielder, and he's not really a good defensive midfielder. So and that was the problem. But anyway, but you're absolutely right. I mean, he made
the right call. That's
right
what I'm making, and you've got to give him credit for making the right call. You've got to give him credit for integrating the players that he's integrated for. You've got to give him credit for buying the right players that he bought last summer. So he's got to get a lot of credit, Mikel Arteta, for stuff he's been doing. All right, he's got to get a lot of criticism for stuff he did wrong, but that's gone. We've criticised him for that. So we should be judging him on what he's doing now. And despite, I can't get over what he did to Ozil. And he's just done the same again with Aubameyang. And I don't like it.
Yes.
But you can't, every time he does something right, you can't go, yeah, but I'm going to ignore that because I don't like what he did to Mesut Ozil. You can't keep going back. It's gone. And not only is it gone, but it's gone for the reason that he did what he thought was best, even if we don't agree with it. And he's sticking to his principles. Well,
George, but he will fall on his own petard, as they say.
He will.
Right? So he has, but allow him to rise or fall. That is how it is.
Yeah, let him be judged by his principles.
Yes.
And if they work, they work. And we succeed, and it's great. And the team improves, and he improves, and everybody's happy. If it doesn't work, he'll be shown the door. There's no need for us to try and kick him towards the door. He'll do that.
But George, like I said again, and audience, I really bring this. There are people who hang their hat on a position. Extremes will win you. In Twitter, you'll gain support. You keep hanging on to it. And of course, It's like saying that Wenger will go. Well, Wenger will eventually go. So you hang on there to the detriment of the club. You know what I mean,
After,
George?
after 15 years, Lee
Yeah,
Grove
after
got
15
it.
years.
Told
George.
you, I told you it would go.
Yes, exactly. George, I want to give props to my good friend Shard. I don't give him enough props in this our broadcast because he does all my pre-games. Shard, and you will never come on this show, I know. You prefer to write. But he made a point in his last preview that and you spoke about it, and I wanted to say it, but I didn't get a chance. He said one of the forces will be faced. One of the negative forces will be Michael Oliver. And I remember of course, I do the editing, so I know what he said, and and it turned out precisely as he said. Michael Oliver, the referee, would be an obstacle to an Arsenal victory, and so said, so done. I don't want you to reprise the point, but Shard, you were absolutely right on that. George, maybe you want to just add.
Yeah, but let's be honest, Shotta. You know,
Yeah.
I could be right every week by saying the referee will fuck us over.
Yeah.
Because the perception every week is that the referee fucks us over. I thought Michael Oliver, apart from that stupidity and applying the rules to Martinelli, I thought he refereed the game well.
Okay. Good.
So,
Well, the balance, George. That's what we're all about. Balance. And thank you on that, George. On the one well, I think I'm gonna make this a last issue. Um, Gabriel played well, but I wanted to point out the shithousery. George,
well, it's not just him.
My favorite. Gabriel just. I don't know what I mean, you remember him rolling over the guy. Podence was dribbling, barely grazed him on the nose, and this is not the only incident. Rolling around, George. It reminded me of something that you said before. Arteta was good at shithousery too, George. Where you think this is leading to? Keep going, my friend.
Well, we saw it at City with, they're very much in that vein, aren't they? Of the Arteta shithousery. I mean, I don't like it. We're wasting time. From what? 30 minutes in.
From the first half, George, we were wasting time.
We were wasting time in the first half. But again, we're not going to blame the players for applying Mikel Arteta's rules. And it's the same with I don't know. We're getting all these cards.
Yes. Yeah, the red cards, George. All these red cards and yellow cards.
And they're probably a result of doing Arteta's shithousery, but they're not as good at it as he was.
Right?
He was a really skilled shithouse. He could almost do a Fernandinho and foul and never get booked.
And Fabinho, by the way, George. And Fabinho, by the way.
They seem to have a knack, these really top players in that position. And Arteta was. That's another thing that annoys me now. Because he's unpopular as a manager, people are writing off how good he was as a player. He was a fantastic player for us.
Oh, yeah, we used to celebrate him.
And it seems like people think now he was some sort of donkey who, they give he never got a cap for Spain or some other. He was fucking brilliant. If you look at his stats, he was the best in his position in the league for 2 years.
Correct.
And he doesn't get enough credit for that. And it's difficult for him probably to be telling players who are a bit more clumsy than him, like Partey and Xhaka, to be a shithouse the way he was, because he was a clever little shithouse. I mean, he could even smile afterwards. He even had that smile that is sort of forgiving. You don't look at Mikel Arteta and get angry at him. He's not some horrible sort of thug that's
And remind people, George, he was a killer at taking penalties. I remember when he missed one, and I was shocked.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely, he was our penalty taker. He was
Yes.
our captain. He was
Yes.
our leader. He was our heartbeat of the team. And it really annoys me that people are willing to write that off now because they don't like him as a manager. I don't like him as a manager. I don't like him as a person. But fucking hell, what a good player he was for us. And I'll have to say, I'm disliking him less as a manager.
Well, I noticed that you're giving him props.
Well, yeah, you know.
But you know, George, this goes back to the theme. Well, it's kind of recurring theme here. We can't just dig in our heels, folks. At the end of the day, we are Arsenal, and this is something I know a lot of people think that you and I are just here to carp and criticize. But what we want is the best for the team, you know, and I think that is. Let's just leave it at that. What we want is a better Arsenal that is the best it can be, and not this campaigning, not this agenda-driven social media, which is, in my opinion, is not helping with the support. You're struck dumb.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is something about me that people should understand. People reply to my tweets on Twitter, yes. And I don't get back to them because I don't think they need a reply. If I agree with them, I don't have to confirm that I agree with them. Right. I just don't. If I don't agree with someone, I'll disagree with them and I'll be public about it. But if I agree with them, it's not a backslapping competition, is it?
Right. George, I'm gonna end it here, but let's make note that we do Brentford on the 19th of February before we have the return with Wolves on the 24th.
Yeah, we'll beat them too as well.
Well, they're coming up to our place. It should be a competitive match, to be honest.
Well, they're on a terrible trot, them, aren't they?
They haven't been following them that closely, but
they're playing like a team that just came up from the Championship with limited resources. Just because they beat us first game of the season didn't make them a Premier League team.
With you, so, correct, George.
I think we'll beat them comfortably, and I think we'll beat Wolves at home as well. So I'm literally quite expecting 6 points. Although if we only get 4, I'll be happy with that.
Well, on that note, George,
however we do it.
On that note, George, we will get together again before that game, the next Friday, our usual weekly broadcast. So we'll get to preview that game, guys. George, I want to thank you. I'm a happy camper. I like the resolve that we showed. The 3 points are 3 points. You?
It's all good, yeah. It's all good. No complaints. We didn't play brilliant. We didn't play badly. We played okay, and we knuckled down. Wolves are a good team.
They are. By the way, George, all those young guys, the Chicano guy, the Podence guys, they didn't miss the big old lout there that they sent to Barcelona. I was impressed by them. Anyway, George, on that note, folks, like and subscribe. I don't know, for some reason I'm not seeing the comments on YouTube. We're not the most popular, but we are improving. I'm telling you. Well, you can see it, guys. You can see the figures. And we keep plugging away. Hopefully you like what George and I and Ehab, when he comes on, try to be as factual, try to provide balance, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you, George.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.